To news from Australia, construction on the world's largest telescope has begun. It's one of the giant scientific projects of the 20th century. The Square Kilometre Array, SKA, will be the largest radio telescope in the world when it's completed in 6 years' time. It's going to be split across both South Africa and Australia with the How big is this thing? Split across South Africa and Australia with their headquarters in the UK, and the facility will address the biggest questions in astrophysics.
Well, I mean, see, this is what it is, to know the answers, you need to ask the questions. But when you have the questions, to get the answers, you need to build a telescope. 131,000 antennas to this telescope. And it's going to be like, a insanely tall Christmas tree. Okay, and 131,000 of those. That's how it's going to look like when it gets built finally.
I think it's almost as big as the one producer Pranab Prasanna bought when the good-looking girls moved in next door.
Oh, man.
You didn't think I was going to say that, did you? No, we kid. We kid here at the moment. But you forget how, on a serious note, you forget how big Australia is. And when man first landed on the moon in 1969, they actually had to go out to Australia in the middle of a sheep farm and build a huge satellite, just by the way the signals bounced off. So they made a movie on it, called The Dish. And it's all about how NASA drives out, about 14 hours west of Sydney to the middle of a sheep station, and they get there and they're playing cricket on the satellite dish, which probably wasn't far from the truth. However, 7 News has more on this story.
The first step of the Square Kilometre Array, the world's largest radio telescope. There are no lenses, only antennas.
Allowing us to look back in time over the history of the universe and potentially see the very first stars and galaxies when they first started to shine.
The array will be a spiral with 3 giant arms, measuring 74 kilometres between each of the furthest points, made up of 512 clusters of 256 antennas, a staggering 131,072 receivers, to look back 1 billion years into the celestial unknown.
The bigger the collecting area, the smaller the object you can see. And so again, having the radio telescope cover an area about 74 kilometres across means we can see really small detail on the sky.
Construction in the Murchison Shire begins today, one of the few places in the world that has the space and, crucially, is so remote.
People bring with them phones and cars and microwaves and fridges, all of which make noise electronically, which mean that we can't detect the very faint signals from the dawn of the universe.
It'll take 8 years to transform this barren outback into the world's largest telescope, where antennas like this will stretch beyond the horizon, unlocking secrets beyond our imagination, to even uncover extraterrestrial intelligence.
If there were, say, an airport radar on a planet circling a star tens of light years away, we would be able to detect that.
Looking back from the outback,